Okay, so I'm with Matthew Freiheit and Alyssa Anthony. Pleasure to meet you both.
Hi.
Hi. So,
Absolutely.
Matthew, first off on your director statement, absolutely awesome because you said iconic is your love letter to downtown LA. I
Yes,
lived in
sir.
downtown LA for a decade. I love that
Yeah.
city. What made you passionate about actually shooting in downtown LA and making it pretty much a big spotlight in your film?
So I moved to downtown LA from the Bay Area. And I think the reason I like downtown Los Angeles is the reason that lots of people don't like downtown Los Angeles. It is like the most realistic. This is where we at in society in terms of like, all right, there's all these nice high rises and just mixed in with the absolute despair that is how income inequality and like the decline of the United States. And I think it's really upsetting for a lot of people to see, but it's like it's the reality of the world. And that is why I like downtown Los Angeles. And that is why the rest of Los Angeles stays away from downtown Los Angeles.
I think just to add on that, I think I lived on Bunker Hill for during that
Oh,
decade, and
no.
I think what people don't understand, and I'm sure you guys understand, of
Yeah,
course, is that if you're in a certain economic strata and you're living in DTLA, you can actually, if you're really sociopathic, ignore everyone else and live in your.
100%.
Can you speak to that as far as that seclusion that is part
Yeah.
of your film as
Well,
well?
and I think it's one of those ones that lots of people don't realize. It's like people will write off all of downtown Los Angeles as being like, oh, this place is terrible. It's like, no, you have like where I live, I've been in historic core for the last 4 years, which is the closest neighborhood to Skid Row. Oh no, you have to see people that are dealing with like poverty and like the lack of resources. That's not like something that you need to be like, oh my God, this is a terrible thing. That's the reality of the world. But if you're, say, over by crypto in South Park, like that doesn't trickle over there. So yeah, you could just hang out over there and never see the reality of Los Angeles, you know?
Alyssa, I wanted to get your thoughts on the city as well. You shot in the city, and also just playing a character that I feel is really so complex. How awesome was it to actually explore your characters within this story?
It was amazing. I think Lily represents a lot of people's love-hate relationship with social media. I think she envies it, but she also hates it because she has a lot of rage and a lot of jealousy. And there's just like this competitiveness about her that I feel like is sad. And there's a beauty in that as well. I think like being in this generation and like being consumers of social media, it's a lot of pressure on all of us. And you see how it affects different people's mental health. Like I liked to imagine that Lily had a backstory of really dealing with a lot of issues and bullying and lots of dark stuff. So you see that something's made her this way. And I think a lot of villains, as you can call them, they get there because they've been through something dark. And I think a lot of people are going through dark things in this time.
I think people can say Iconic is a very surreal movie. It has horror touches, but I think it's really a human story because I think a lot of
Yeah.
people can really relate to
Yeah.
the doom scroll of vertical video and how their minds are not actually, it's not a linear situation. You're actually not living in this horrific world. You're living in the world of a human being. Can you speak to that? Both of you, I like the humanity in Iconic
Yeah.
as well. So.
To me, it definitely is one of those ones like, yeah, it is a very human story with it being based in reality. It is, if you think about it, like losing your mind is one of the scariest things that could happen. And like it's something that you're seeing all the time. One of the things that's inspired me to, oh, we should make a horror movie about this is I'm sure everyone's had the experience of seeing someone that say maybe they grew up with online just like crash out and start posting like really schizo stuff. And you're like, oh no. And it's if it's someone that say I went to high school with that I don't really know, I don't really have people that are close to them, you can't really do anything about that. If I don't have the resources like jump in and get this person help, it's something that you just watch from afar and you're like, this is terrifying. And that's one of the things that inspired us. So let's make a horror movie about existing and watching people on social media.
It's also so realistic because in my experience, like I've been in LA for 9 years now, and I've watched influencers go from being like popping off, living this really elaborate, luxurious lifestyle to completely being canceled, completely going nuts, being like overtaken by all of these really dark things. So it's a realistic horror. I've seen it happen. I've seen people get hooked on drugs and lose their mind. And it's something that's like close to home, especially being in my 20s in LA. I've seen it happen.
Alyssa, on a personal level, When you think of indie films, you think, okay, two people talking in a diner or a restaurant, it's a coverage and the indie, you forgive the indie filmmakers because they only have, he or she, they only have a certain amount of money. But then
Yeah.
what's it like working on something like Iconic where the same holds true, the budget is very low, but the visuals and the compositions and the editing is top level. What is it like to be part of indie, but also being in an elevated film like this?
Honestly, it was a dream because it was so fun. We have so much fun. Like Matt is so down to just try things and there's not a lot of pressure. There was pressure because we have limited resources, but there's not a lot of pressure to like stick to a really strict schedule. We just got to play a lot. And he would call me and be like, "Can we do this real quick? Can you meet me here?" So it's really exciting as an actor to be able to play, to be like really with a close kind of cast and crew. Everything's really small, so you get to really try things. You also get to fuck up as well, and it's not as big of a deal. It's been fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Matthew, I know very few directors who are actually, I'm thinking Steven Soderbergh, maybe a couple other
Yeah.
people who shoot their own movie, co-edit. You have another editor as well, but
Yeah.
you're also the DP. So for
Yes, sir.
people who the cliche, the person with a camera, what
Yeah.
kind of advice do you have for people who want to shoot their own films and direct their own films? How impossible is it? Or maybe not impossible from your POV? What's the key
Yeah.
to that unlock? Yeah.
So what I would say is definitely, the key is definitely just shooting a lot. I knew I could do this because I have done music videos as a DP director for 10 years before this. So I've been very used to directing and doing camera stuff. The number one thing that I think helped us so you could relax and turn off my DP brain and just focus on directing and capturing is number one, shooting handheld for a lot of it. And also for the house, we pre-lit everything. So basically, I was like, okay, cool. We're gonna go from sunset to a little bit more moody sunset. We have everything. It's all on our iPad. You click a couple buttons, and cool. Now the lighting's changed. No one had to move anything. I didn't have to think about like the complicated thing about relighting, and boom, you're there. I think one of the reasons I tend to do DP director stuff is when you're doing something that's handheld, like the amount of control you have and to be, you get to pick where the camera's facing. You get to pick, okay, I'm spending this long with this moment, this long with this moment. That's something that you do unfortunately lose if you're not operating the camera. And for this being my first movie, I was like, I don't have the shorthand to really do this with another person like this. I know I can do it myself and I'll get exactly what I want.
And editing, how hard was it to edit this film? Because this is just a stream of consciousness situation, but it's also grounded in reality, especially the third act, which I read.
Editing the film was actually this is definitely where it was much trickier than shooting it myself, just because the structure of the story and it being a story about someone losing their mind. We got in there and we put everything together. We put everything together in the order that it was written. And there was lots of things that were like, oh, when this was on the page, it seemed a lot more intense. And now this being in like the third act, it doesn't really hit because there's so many. You'll see the movie, it'll make sense. There was things that happened after the really bad turning point in the movie that originally were supposed to be in the third act, and we're like, this is nothing now. So we basically had to rearrange tons of things that are originally in the other act, in other parts of the movie, to earlier parts of the movie. And because, again, it's a movie about someone losing their mind, there was almost unlimited potential for us to read, which was like, oh, this is hard because you can put a lot of these things in almost any order.
Alyssa, so this is actually in a way surreal, but also a realistic look at maybe some influencers and their struggles and whatnot. You're really good in this. You're a good actor. What's the reality of being an actor and working in Los Angeles from your 9 years of experience? And actually, you're talking about from your POV seeing influencers, but also more importantly, personally for you, what's it like seeing actors and artists and whatnot? Does it matter? Does it really matter how great you are or talented? Because sometimes is it all about luck? What is it all about for you for these 9 years?
Yeah, it's been interesting to see because I got to LA, like I said, 9 years ago, and like influencer culture was already happening, but it definitely has taken off way more in the last 5, 6 years. And it's a difficult pill to swallow as like a trained actor coming from a theater background because there are influencers that are getting handed roles. But I will say in my time, because I had a love-hate relationship with it at first. I was very like anti-influencer, but as I've become close with like influencers in the city, I've seen how much work they put in and how much acting it actually does take to be an influencer. And in a way, it's in being an actor in itself. And I've had to come to terms with that and be like, wow, this is a different technique. It's a different form of acting, but it's just as much acting as classical theater, because essentially like the internet is the stage and it's a theater as well. So I respect influencers. I've come to terms with it, and I've really dove into understanding it, especially as someone that's not an influencer.
Yeah.
And I feel like it definitely is one, because one of the reasons I made this film is because I worked in like fashion influencer world a lot. I feel like there's so many movies that just dunk on influencers, like without ever acknowledging the reality of, they do have to like turn on, they have to perform for the camera, and you have this whole persona that they have to do. So it's not necessarily, oh my God, look at my life. No, it's still work.
I think it's, in a way, obviously there's being a classically trained actor is also really hard in different ways, but being an influencer is so strange to me because I've watched my friends have to film themselves. And I think that is like a darker way of, when you're acting and someone's filming you, it's like that the pressure's off. You don't get to choose the takes. You just have to do what you have to do. But when you're editing it yourself, when you're posting it yourself, when you're dealing with reactions to this character that's really personal to you, it's not like someone's fictional character. It's like kind of yourself. It's way like, it's darker, it's harder, but it's also rewarding in different ways too. It's very interesting. I can't imagine filming myself. I feel like that is so scary, and I just like, my heart goes out to all of the people that do that for a living.
Final couple questions, and thanks for your time. First off, I'm going to cut this part of the interview and only release it a week later after its digital and on-demand DVD release. I want to ask about the ending and whatnot. Alyssa, first off, throughout most of the movie, I'm pulling for Lily. I just got a blender. That was very icky for me, that sequence.
Yeah, that was a fun one.
Part one is I'm pulling for Lily, but how awesome was it to play a character who you're really pulling for? She seems so nice and genuine, but she just flips the table and she's just ruining that other person's life. Do you feel that your character is fantastical or actually on the page real? And you get a lot of these people. And I think that's the scariest part of the movie where,
yeah. I think that I've met Lily's in real life. And because I had to really fall in love with Lily and understand her, I'm like, damn, she's been through some crazy stuff to feel the need to take advantage of people in this way. But we come across that a lot, especially in a city like LA that's so saturated with, what's the word? Influencers, but people that are just trying to fight for their spot, right? And people will do anything and even use sex and love and weird tactics to get into someone's life and take their spot. There's always someone waiting to take someone else's spot. And yeah, Lily's savage. She uses her, like everything she has to ruin this girl's life. It's horrible.
I think it's just entertainment. It's not even just an influencer thing. Like this happens with musicians. Yes. Entertainment is cutthroat.
It is. Everyone's out for blood.
And very quickly, Matthew, ending on the fact that you're ending on a note of empathy, just realizing you're talking about downtown LA, the love letter to downtown LA. It's also recognizing that there are people who are homeless. They have people with mental health issues. Let's have some empathy for them, while also, why don't we look ourselves in the mirror and be a little bit humble, because we are not. Can you just speak to that theme of Iconic?
Yeah, again, one of the other things that inspired me to make this movie is I was about to do a shoot with a model who will remain unnamed, and I saw her just post something on Instagram, just like the gist of her statement was like, "Ew, homeless people are gross." I'm like, okay, no, I'm never gonna hire this person again. And like, how out of touch with reality are you for that's your sentiment towards people that could be you, basically? Although in reality, it does happen, but like the chances of someone that is like a pretty high up successful influencer model on the food chain crashing all the way down to rock bottom, probably not the most common realistic cause of someone ending up living on the street. But it is possible, and that is one of the things that I wanted people to get from this movie. It doesn't matter who you are one psychotic break or one unpaid bill away from being someone on the street. And that person on the street, maybe they're like, could be experiencing all of these terrifying visions that Rose is experiencing on the street. Like, you have no idea what it's like to be living in that person's shoes and dealing with what they're dealing with.
And final question is for both of you, can each of you name one of your all-time favorite films? And what is it about this movie that continues to inspire you today as an artist? And thanks for your time.
Okay, I'm gonna get shit for this one, but I always say I can't ever list this as my favorite, as my number one film. People will think I'm like, yeah, something's wrong with me. But Requiem for a Dream, I always say is my second favorite film. Very obvious in style of editing, but also I feel like it's one of those films you just watch, and whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, after you watch it, you're just like, oh my God. It's not necessarily, you don't feel good after, but it is a impactful feeling. Like that feeling of watching that movie and the message of that movie really sits with you. And I think because of that, just such an impactful movie, whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, doesn't matter. It's something you remember.
I love that. I would have to say mine over the last like decade, the one that moved me the most in theaters. I went to see it by myself and I left just, what the heck did I just see, was Portrait of a Lady on Fire. It just, I think being a queer woman, and at the time when I went to watch it, I was still dealing with my sexuality and trying to come out, and just watching it and have it be something that's so artful. And I'm such a visual person. Like, it was a slow burn. And I feel like a lot of films are really rushed nowadays. And there's just so much intention behind every single take, every single scene. And I don't know, I left that movie theater being like, okay, I need to be in a film like this someday or create one. I loved it.
I think what's crazy about Portrait, that's including Requiem as well, is the more you watch it, the more you get into it, because it continues to be. Do you get that feeling? The more you see it, it gets more powerful.
Yeah, I love it like that, where I feel like I could watch them 100 times, and every time I take something different from it, it's one of those things. Like, I'm always watching it, and oh, I didn't catch that the first time. Like, it's such a good movie.
Okay, thanks again, guys. Really enjoyed Iconic, and Matthew, finally, just really ballsy move as far as the way you cut and shot the movie. So I know what you were going for it, and I knew you're going to divide audiences, but I really
I know.
I respect that.
You're gonna love it or hate it. So,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, bye. Hey guys, thanks so much for watching this video. For more movie and television reviews and interviews, please subscribe to my Deepest Dream channel. Like, comment, share, subscribe. And as always, thanks so much for your support. Take care.